Aussie housing to go bust in 2023. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and I hope you're enjoying this, zombie week or the week between Christmas and New Year's. Well, we don't quite know what day it is and try and be productive, not just nap and relax. So I thought we'd have a look at, a few things. There's an article from, many newspapers doing the rounds right now about an IMF report discussing Australian housing, and they're painting a bleak picture here. IMF sees potential for imminent sizable bust in Australia's housing market from everyone's favourite rag, The Guardian. Sydney Morning Herald. Australia's misaligned housing market at risk of major crash as rates rise, according to the IMF. Sky News, misaligned. New report warns of a housing market crash. And the IMF, the Housing Market Stability and Affordability, this is the actual document, the report that they prepared. So the media is all over this because, housing is part of our culture here. It's the state religion in Australia. I think we can all agree upon that. And, some people are hoping for a big correction. So let's just look at some SQM data. We'll see here. This is national data. We'll refresh it. You can see how housing has climbed up, guys. Let me full screen it and have a look. What are we up on? 12 months change. All houses up 9% in just the last 12 months. It's definitely increased. The predictions from the RBA or the modelling from the RBA for 40% decrease, all the fear that the property was going to go down, it didn't really materialise. It didn't really materialise, unfortunately, for some who are hoping for housing to be affordable. So with that in mind, let's have a look at a few things. We're not going to go through this paper. We'll go through it, or I'll summarise it in another video, because I think it's important to go through. I just want to draw your attention to a few little slides here. Now, what's drawing a whole lot of attention is our debt servicing to total income limits. They're above now over 40%. So that means you're going to have, median house prices for average income. People are going, average household income, they're going to have to, you're going to need more than 40% of your income to service your debts for your houses now. And this is much worse, or this is frankly leading to, housing stress. And let me just bring up the definition here, everyone. Hang on, yep, that's the last one we were using. We refer to this every now and then. It's typically described as lower income households that spend more than 30% of their gross income on housing costs, where this is referring to all households or the median households on 50%. So it's still, or 40%, it's still pretty bad. Okay? And then we've got another one here. We've got this slide here looking at the housing affordability is a concern in several advanced economies in the Asia-Pacific region. You can see here the overburden rate, the share of population spending more than 40% on housing. And in Australia, you can see we're up here. So around about 8%, which is above the median, but nowhere near at the max. We're half the max. So, hey, come on, Aussies, dig in, get better. And housing and utilities as a percent of total expenditure, and we're right there. We're just above the median again. There you're heading up towards 25%. So you can see why there's concerns. But I want to talk about 5 reasons why it may not happen, why we may not see a crash here. They're focusing on a few things, and we'll go through the report in another video, and the media is really playing it up. But I want to talk about 5 reasons why I don't think we'll get a correction or a big crash. And by this I mean something that people have been waiting for before COVID, before 2019. If we go back down to 2019 prices, is that really a crash because we've got FOMO up? There's the question. Will that mean housing will be affordable? Because if you have a look here, their prices, the actual prices since 2012, all the way just until now, have been between this buffer, between the 40 and the 30%, the debt servicing to total income, okay? We've been within this buffer, according to the IMF. We've only now just breached it. So if we go back down to being back in this buffer that they consider, well, appropriate, how much of a correction will that be? If we go back to 2019 prices, that's not that big a deal, guys. It's going to hurt. It'll hurt the people who just FOMO'd in. And perhaps the people who were incentivized in by the government. Maybe that should be the question. Is it just, fair and equitable? Is it moral for the government to be taking advantage of people? But I mean, that's what they do. That's Australia, guys. So let's have a look. The first one is fewer bad loans. Still a tiny fraction of all loans. So non-performing residential property loans. They're not that many, everyone. Because we've been talking here on the channel about rates going up, interest rates climbing. But we're not getting that many bad loans yet. So either the rate increases, for those of you playing at home, you can see the cash rate has shot to the moon. The rate increases haven't trickled through yet to people because everyone's either on a fixed low rate and they're about to get a huge hit, or the articles that we're seeing, particularly from the ABC, are just emphasizing the desperate or those that haven't planned well enough, or those that perhaps shouldn't have gotten a loan and got into the market due to artificial incentives from the government. I mean, you could get a loan with a 2% deposit where the government will back it. Now, is that responsible? Should we be doing that? Should we, as a country, be allowing people to, or be encouraging people to take on that much debt with so little of a deposit? It's just crazy. So you've got 9.6 billion owner-occupied loans were non-performing as of September 2022. 4.2 billion of investment loans were non-performing, so 13.8 billion. Down, okay, it's down from 19.1 billion in 2020. So it's heading, guys, let me change this. It's heading down. We've got a 38% decrease, guys. So there's still, billions of dollars of non-performing loans, but it's improving. It's getting better. So we're not seeing an uptick here in any of this. So that either means that if we are going to see an uptick, it's going to be, well, we've got to wait. And we'll see if this cliff of people getting off the super low mortgages makes a dent here. But then we have also loans that are 30 to 89 days past due. You've got 7.1 billion. So it's down as well from 14.9 billion, guys. Look, that's crashed, a 52% reduction. So we're not seeing it here too. People are still making their repayments. But here's the other one. You need to look at this in context, these numbers. 13.8 billion, 7.1 billion, because we've got 638 billion of investment loans, 1,379 billion of owner-occupier loans, which means we've got over 2,012 billion in total credit, everyone. Total credit outstanding. So that means the 13.1 billion in non-performing loans is still only 0.69%, less than 1%, and the 7.1 billion is less than 0.5%, 0.35%. These are tiny numbers. They're tiny numbers, guys. So this is what we have to remember when we're seeing all of these type of articles in the media, just going, sizable bust in Australia, a major crash, housing market crash. These are keywords. These are keywords that will get eyeballs. And I know that because I'm a YouTuber that talks about the housing market. Okay? That's it has an impact on views because we're all interested in it. Either those of us that are invested in property, we're terrified at the prospect of our genius purchases, which are completely blind luck for a lot of people, are going to go down, or some people are hoping for a big correction. So that's the first argument I'd put forward to you, that we're not seeing an uptick in these bad loans, which are going to force people to sell, flood the market with properties, and tank prices. Okay? So that's the first one. The second one is, well, they're going to open the gates. Migrants and students are returning to Australia. I know there's some people who think, why would you ever move to Australia? What's going on? And the people that think Australia is a horrible country, but it's not. It's a pretty awesome country. Sure, we've got a bunch of Karens everywhere, and people are a whole lot of rule sticklers, but that's not new, guys. That's Australia. I think a whole lot of people don't realise what Australia is really like. We're not the laid-back country, okay? We're a bunch of rule followers. And that's just how it is. You can see here we go, look. That's the COVID dip, the pandemic, crashing immigration or migration to Australia right down, net overseas migration, and now it's shot right back up again. So we're having people returning to Australia. It's nearly going back to normal. You can see it just at the edge of that chart there. We have a look here. Overseas migrant arrivals. You've got India climbing right back up. They peaked. China went back down. It's up again. Australia, it's flattening out. We're all coming back. Nepal and, the Philippines, both climbing back up. Philippines are nearly back where it was. Nepal nearly back to where it was. India and China are rocketing up. So international migrants are coming back. And if we have a look here at the breakdown of visas, you can see here the dip. Okay, the dip, guys. Have a look here. This is the one I wanted to look at. Student vocational training, higher education or other. You can see here it dipped down, back nearly up to 20.1 thousand. And here you go. Look, down to nothing, pretty much right back up, right back up. The numbers are right back up. We saw article after article of, decline in student visas. The universities were crying poor. The lecturers that had invested all of their money into student accommodation and had their careers in teaching at universities were crying poor. That shows you why you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. But that's a big stimulus for the property sector, guys, right here. Just one little example. And you've got people coming back to Australia. The floodgates are opening. Labor have increased the migrant intake. Okay? So that's the second reason. This is additional demand for housing stock, all types. Okay, then the third reason is, the construction apocalypse. What we've been discussing here in the channel for many videos, and I've got a playlist here with 56 videos now, where we're talking about builders going into liquidation, builders getting desperate, builders collapsing, bailouts for Metricon, Remy Capital collapsing, Pivotal Homes, earth-moving contractors collapsing, another builder on the brink. And these even aren't all the videos. Townhouse projects abandoned, Wilbury Homes collapsed. The construction sector remains confident. There's a positive one there. 15 builders going bust is just the start. Snowden forced liquidations. Developer collapses owing $80 million. Construction collapse blamed on massive greed. Oracle Building Corporation collapsed. Builder abandons projects, goes on to holiday to Thailand. So I think I could make the argument that yes, we've got significant collapses in the construction sector, and that's going to impact our ability, because remember, as our numbers return to normal, our population growth returns to normal, demand increases, we're not going to be able to meet supply. Okay? If we have a look here, this is construction companies entering external administration and controller appointments. Now, I just got this data. It's too... Well, what I want to show you is this dip right here. That's down. Okay? Now, remember when they traded the rules, changed the rules? Remember when they let people trade while insolvent? Remember how I said in the video, this is going to lead to a cliff in insolvencies. When it would go back to normal. Okay, so you could say this is like the normal level of companies. Right about here, it's kind of going down. But even if we just run a line through there, I'm making a mess here, aren't I? We run a line through there, we're just heading back to normal. So that's a significant increase. You're under 1,000, like 900 and something there in 2021. We're climbing right back up again. So there you go. The insolvencies are returning back to normal. That's going to also impact the capacity of suppliers. So that's the third reason I'm saying. Demand is returning as people are coming back to Australia, one example, and our ability to meet that demand is now going to be damaged because of, look at the The construction sector, everyone. And just the construction apocalypse has damaged the construction sector, and it's going to take time for that to return back to normal. It's probably going to take longer for that to return to normal than it is for demand to return. And now the fourth reason, and government support, market interventions and economic stimulus, they use the housing sector. They use the construction sector. It doesn't matter which mob is in charge, Labour or Liberal, it's the same thing. They've both done it. And they like to do it because, well, it stimulates the economy. Let's remind ourselves, the regulars will know this slide deck here is, the juicing the market. You've got the cash rate was set to insanely low levels, 0.1%. I don't know why anyone thought, well, no, I do know why people thought it would go lower, because the media reported on the RBA requesting the banks prepare for the potential for negative rates. So some people took that as a certainty. It's just them preparing. They didn't really report as much on the Reserve Bank governor about how rates would not go down. Let's see if I have that. Slide deck here. No, I don't really have that one. That negative rate, sorry. I'll find that. Here's our Reserve Bank governor saying he'll raise rates to slow the housing boom. Boy, how times have changed, guys. We're not at that point anymore, are we? Remember that? Oh boy, that was a different world, wasn't it? It certainly was a different world. So you've got them, you've got the cash rate crashed. You got home builder juiced up the market. We can see it down here. The spike in residential build was the result of home builder bringing projects forward. You got first homeowner grants up to 88 grand. Now you've got shared equity where the government will loan part of your house. You've got 5 and 2% government loan guarantees. Now, the only saving grace here is we're not talking a lot of people. We're not talking a lot. You're talking maybe 10,000. Home builder was many more. Okay, home builder was just nuts, the number of people that took advantage of that program. And I don't blame them. Honestly, I don't blame them. But the problem is it juiced up the market too, so everything got more expensive. Then you add all the international shipping issues. Yeah, it's you probably everyone who took advantage of home builder probably didn't save any money. I would have to look into that. There'd have to be some research there. I'll add it to my never-ending task list. You've got negative gearing. That's just part of our culture. And I mean, everyone does it. Okay, from police officers to surgeons and anesthesiologists, because they want to reduce their tax burden. They want to reduce the money they give to the state. And then super withdrawals. Not everyone used it. The super funds, they have media, which is essentially propaganda for them, pushing out the line that people spent it on boob jobs and wasted it away and gambled it away. Most people use it to pay off debt. They use it to pay off debt. I mean, can you blame someone? You have it in super, you're not so sure about the returns on the market. You've got a 20 grand credit card bill or a 10 grand credit card bill, gone, decimated. I can't blame people. The only problem is if they rack it all up again. That's the problem. And we have, as well, a keeping of zombie companies alive. And here's the decline in external administrations. You can see you've got JobKeeper. 9% of Victorians were on JobKeeper. It's just crazy how many people were employed in the States on JobKeeper. And a lot of them people didn't need it. And you've got reducing housing supply just in general, just the whole not in my backyard crowd and just the local councils. This is why when people will say in the comments they'll blame Liberal or they'll blame Labor for housing affordability, at a federal level there's not much they can do. They can just chuck money at it, pretty much. They can just chuck money at it. And maybe they can do a few token projects around the place. But the issue is this. The issue is people here at Kangaroo Point, under a Green City Councillor ringing up Ipswich to complain about a low-cost development that they didn't want to go ahead because it was adjoining an Indigenous community. Even though they had archaeologists go through the community, go through the area, identify nothing of significance, they were there complaining about it. These were $500,000 homes. These were starter homes for people out of Ipswich. And, you could commute to Brisbane from Ipswich if you have to. It's not the end of the world. How much do you reckon the stuff at Kangaroo Point's worth, guys? How much do you think those houses are worth right in the heart of Brisbane? A lot more. How many of them you think paid that for it or got it at a 20 years ago, 30 years ago at a bullshit cheap rate and now are just pulling up the ladder behind them. That's how it is. So that's the fourth reason, everyone, just the government support for the entire housing sector. If we start seeing a big collapse in the housing market, I would bet a carton there'd be intervention of one sort or another. Remember, we don't have a free market here in Australia, not by any stretch. And then the fifth one, market competition. If you're thinking housing is going to collapse, it's going to crash in prices, I want to show you this map here. This is where 50% of Australians live. Hang on, I've got my camera right there. There we go. 50% of Australians live in these three areas. So sure, housing shot up here, and it's coming back down. Oh no, we may. I mean, let's look here. We'll look at asking prices from SQM. These are the Sydney prices. We'll do a reload. And there you go. It's starting to come back down, guys. It's dipping back down. It's still insanely expensive. You know, three bedroom over 1.4 in Sydney. It's coming back down. I mean, you're going to be pissed if you bought here in February 1.6 and now you've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's not going to mean housing is affordable for the average person that's struggling to get in 2019 prices. You know, if we go back here to 2019 prices, yeah, people are going to burn a lot of money, you know, and they'll feel frustrated and angry. But is that the crash that people have been predicting or arguing for forever? I'd say, well, not really, because this is all artificial FOMO that drove the price even up insanely high. And here we have in Melbourne, asking property prices still tracking up, guys. And oh, my favorite, Brizzy. I mean, look how stupid that looks, guys. Look at that. There you go. Oh, look, hang on. Are our house prices finally going down a bit? Yeah, nope. No, kind of, not really. I mean, so supply and demand. People are going, oh, Australia's so big, people can live in all these other areas. Yeah, but these areas are shit, guys. No one wants to live in a lot of these areas. I mean, here you got APY land, the one town where people were living and mining there got completely abandoned because the government didn't allow them to, or the local tribes didn't allow them to renew their lease, and there you go. Now the town's gone. I mean, that's one example. You got all these places in the outback. I mean, what are people going there for? Mining or work, and they'll commute. You know, I've got family that does this flight all the time, commuting, flying in and out, because that's what the mines have to do to get workers, to get people who are skilled to do the complex engineering tasks that they need to do. They're flying back and forth. That's why. I mean, if you haven't been, these places are hot and shit. To be brutally honest, I mean, beautiful sometimes, but it's uncomfortable a lot of the other times. So there's a reason why people are hugging the coast here in Australia, guys. Okay? And you've got to take that into account when you're looking at property, when you're looking at people long-term, people wanting to buy, invest, and where they want to live. Okay? So, I mean, we had the green change. We have people going rural. Now they're all going back. So there needs to be a huge culture shift if particularly Sydney and Melbourne, and even Brisbane now, aren't going to have such a big impact. So, guys, that is the 5 reasons. So we've got all this fear in the media of a housing crash. And the 5 reasons I'm putting on the table of why I don't quite think it'll happen is we've got fewer bad loans, you know, and things are getting better. We'll have to see what happens when the interest, the people on low interest rates suddenly get hit with reality, and how many people that's going to impact. If it means, what I think it'll happen is a whole bunch of people will face reality for the first time, and they'll just have to tighten their belts, like seriously tighten their belts. They'll have to live like their parents lived. That's what they'll have to do. And discretionary spending will take a hit. They're going to open the floodgates. I mean, no one is surprised with that. That's what we do in Australia. And honestly, I've got no problem with that. You want people coming here to Australia. We want to get the smartest and brightest people coming here to Australia. I would hope that we ensure there's sufficient infrastructure and housing and incentives to allow people to settle all around the country, so we're not just stuck in these half the population in around three cities. But yeah, we'll have to see. That's probably politically incorrect to even say that. We've got the construction apocalypse, everyone, which is going to hamper our ability to meet the future demand for housing. And then you've got government support. Housing is the government's plaything. I think we can all agree upon that now. There's ample evidence of that from both sides of the political spectrum, at least here in Australia. And then, finally, market competition. Where do people want to live, and why do they want to live there? So, guys, well, let's have a bit of a talk. So what we'll do in another video, we'll go through that IMF report in a bit greater detail, and we'll compare and contrast what they're arguing to some of the arguments I put forward of why there's support for the market. Now, the question I put to you, if property prices crash back down to 2019 levels, is that the crash that people have been waiting for, or people have been predicting? Because I suspect, particularly in the commentator scene, you get people, they will go down a particular tangent, or they'll have an agenda or an axiom, and that will just become part of their identity, and they won't question it. So they'll keep going, it's going to constantly crash, it's going to this, and just repeat it again and again and again for decades or for years. I mean, is that sensible? Do you think Australia is going to change? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one, and thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your zombie week. It's called Zombie Week, isn't it? If you want to support us, you can. Check out HeiseBim and HeiseSays International for other topics, although I am going to rebrand HSI to a bit of a different type of topic. We'll talk about that for next year. If you want to support us, you can financially on YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Only one episode a day at the moment, because I'm being a bum. It's holiday. Well, not really. We gave the car a super good clean. Mina's got the new book from the Barefoot Investor for kids. It's awesome.